Well, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me for this video. Today I want to talk about why some people can't change, or why can't they change certain things about themselves. And of course, we're talking about those things that we have been trying to set boundaries around in our relationship with them. Perhaps we've explained to them why it would be beneficial for them to shift their behavior. We've done our side of setting the boundary, but this person just won't change this, say, particular behavior. And this is a great question, and I want to dive into it a bit in this video. So I'd like to start with what we're asking somebody to do when we want to bring change in their behavior. And that is that we're asking them to change a habit of theirs. And as we know, habits can be challenging to change. You know, they're based in beliefs that we learned growing up, in society, things that we perceived that we needed to do in order to stay safe in life. So they could be around how you communicate with other people, you know, whether you're a communicator or not, the roles that you feel that you're supposed to do or not supposed to do in a relationship, you know, in whatever environment you find yourself in. These are habits around duties, say, in the home, and what men do or women don't do, and all that stuff. And what your skills are, right? Your habits around how are you in speaking about things that bother you, or trying new things, or being willing to look at yourself. Like, these are all learned habits that we have, and they conduct our day-to-day way that we interact with people in our lives. So when we're asking somebody to change, we're asking them to look at these habits of theirs, and we can see it for ourselves. You know, we're asking them to change and look at themselves. And what we know about this is change can be really, really scary. It can be very challenging. It's not an easy thing to do. To look at ourselves can feel really, really threatening. And it takes work and it takes a lot of effort. So even though we might be up to you know, learning how to set boundaries and make changes in our lives so that we can have better relationships and we can have a better life, day-to-day life, not everybody else is in that same frame of mind. So we have to keep in mind, you know, that change can be, the bottom line, very threatening for other people, and that it can take a lot of work to bring about positive change. And, you know, especially in some ways, we could be dealing with things that are rooted in trauma, things that are rooted in, you know, a lot of fear. And this could require a lot of vulnerability in somebody to deal with unresolved issues in their life. So when we're asking somebody to change, even though we can explain to them all the great reasons to change and how obvious this is, we could be butting up a lot of resistance and a lot of fear. So we have to allow for this. We need to understand this. Okay, so this is what we're hitting against when we're asking people to change. So why can't they change? Well, there's many reasons. Some of them might be that they just plain don't want to, right? Things are working for them. They don't see any reason why they need to change. They might think, well, this is just the way I am. I can't do anything about it, right? I've always been this way. You know, don't ask me to do something that I can't change. Maybe they don't know how to change. You know, no one's ever worked with them. It's never been modeled for them to be anything different than they already are. And that's scary, right? Like, if you don't know who to be, then you're going to be who you've been being. And again, it can be too threatening. People feel very criticized, feel very defensive when they're being asked to look at themselves and to shift their behavior. So lots of reasons why people might think that they can't change. And when we're on the other end of it, when we're wanting to make things better and to create a better dynamic in our relationship, we have to be willing to see that the other party may not be ready to change along with us. Okay, so really important here to, to be have an openness and a kindness towards the other person and where they're at in life. Maybe they're just not ready, no matter how much sense it makes and how much, you can point out that it's just the best thing to do. So where are we at now then? We are in a position where we want somebody to change. Even if we have the best reasons for it, it's what we want. And sometimes we just don't get what we want in a relationship. And, even though we're doing our end of it, right, we're maybe having to find ourselves limit the time we spend with people. We've explained that we don't enter into certain type of discussions. Whatever it is that we've been working on, we want them to do more in the environment, say in the household. They're just not, it's something we want, but it's not something that they're registering or moving along with us with. So at this point, we really have to, it comes back to ourselves, and we have some choices here. And that is, for one thing, do we stay in the relationship? Is it that important of a behavior change that it requires us actually to leave the relationship? And these are really, not easy decisions to make, and I don't mean to make light of them, but simply put, we can either stick around and have patience that over time there might be change, that maybe it won't change at all, or it requires us to remove ourselves from the relationship. This is like huge decisions that we have to make. Okay, so we can either go, and this is a choice we have with this person, because we can't control them. We can only control how we respond to this new revelation that this person may not change. The other thing is then, if we want to stay, is how do we be with this scenario of this person? How do we look at perhaps the behavior that they're not willing to change in a new way? And I'd like to offer an example that I've seen in one particular relationship where, with a husband and wife team, she struggled with being late most of the time when they were kind of getting ready to go out or they had to be somewhere. And he was someone that was ready early. Kind of a really common dynamic. And there was a lot of frustration in this and a push to change. And, it was getting uncomfortable and it wasn't going anywhere. This struggle with, couldn't you just get ready sooner so that we could be on time? And it came down to this, the male side of the relationship. He decided that, well, I can see this person isn't she's not going to change, so what can I do instead? And he took up guitar. He always wanted to learn guitar, and he thought, well, why not just use this time that I could be frustrated with picking up the guitar and just practicing in that time. And he did that, and learned how to play the guitar in that time frame of waiting for his wife to get ready before they went out. So a real creative way of dealing with a situation that he's not going anywhere, he loves this person and he wants to stay with them, but this thing's not changing, at least overnight. And what can I do with this time? How could I look at this situation differently? So that's a beautiful example of what we could do when we're dealing with someone in our life that we don't want to remove ourselves from, but they're not going to change, or at least not in the foreseeable future. So a beautiful example there. And in conclusion to all of this, to also leave with you that boundaries and change really are a process, and maybe we'll get better at how we guide someone in our behavior in bringing about that change in them. I mean, maybe it's something that just takes tenderness and a skillfulness of listening and allowing people to come about that change themselves. And of course, only as long as you can take care of yourself in the process, right? There's no point making ourselves unhealthy or aggravated in thinking that we can change. Maybe we just have to let it go, right? But if we see there's room in time, maybe we can find a way to shift the behavior so that we can move our relationship along. So I hope this helps, that, some people can't change, at least can't in the sense that they're not ready, they don't see the benefit right now. Doesn't matter what you say to them, they're not going there. And it's up to us then to decide, it's in our court, what are we going to do with this, right? Are we going to be frustrated and keep pushing? Are we going to have to remove ourselves? Or are we going to allow time and our own caring for ourselves and the other person to move in a new direction with this particular habit of this person that we want to move forward? So I'll leave you with that. I'd love to know in the comments below if you've been in this position before, and if what has worked for you to bring about a movement in another person's behavior, maybe not a complete change, but at least the process that has worked for you. And share that with us in the comments below. And as well, if you would like to be a part of a group of women who talk more about subjects like this, feel free to join my Facebook group. And as a wellness coach, if you'd like support in your life in dealing with setting boundaries and building better communication with the people in your life, sign up for a free mini coaching session with me, and we can talk about what you're dealing with and if my coaching services might be helpful for you. So in the meantime, please take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.